came up, and I said, we gotta be good to Gaza. Those people are suffering. We got to be good to Gaza. We're going to take care of that. There's a very big need for medicine, food and medicine, and we're taking care of it.
In terms of like opening up more access points, or
very hard.
Pushing the Israelis.
We are.
To open up more access
very
points.
Hard to get food and medicine into Gaza.
How did the Prime Minister respond to that?
Well, felt well about it.
Wrong with Israel?
Israel is the Jewish state in Israel and the Levant, or JSIL, and it is the only active settler colonial state in the world. It's embracing an anachronistic system that is based on the idea of maintaining ethnic purity, or a Jewish demographic majority in an area where most people aren't Jewish. That requires, as I said, settler colonialism, but also the dispossession and exclusion of the indigenous Palestinian population that isn't Jewish. That's why we see people ghettoized in the Gaza Strip, people in the West Bank tucked behind 638 kilometers of concrete, people being dispossessed in the Negev inside Israel, the Bedouins. This catastrophic system that is constantly abusing Palestinians is the result of the attempt to maintain a Jewish demographic majority and the ethnic purity that the state's existence is contingent upon. That also requires the entire population to participate in this project of domination and control of the indigenous people. That means everyone enlists into the military at age 18 and has to participate on some level in human rights abuses. That's catastrophic for the Jewish-Israeli population as well. So it's the maintenance of Israel as JSIL, the Jewish state of Israel and the Levant, that's the problem. It is not a democracy, it's an ethnocracy that's anachronistic.
But with your choice of words now, you're sort of comparing it to ISIL, a terrorist organization.
You're asking the question, why should we support Israel? We want the Bible to be proven.
We're living in denial right now as a people, thinking that the church is our friend. Only a person that chooses to be ignorant would believe that the church is our friend, and that the evangelical Christians are our friend. They're the last thing we have is our friend. ISIS is our better friends to us than the evangelical. ISIS is our better friends to us than the evangelical Christians of this.
And Israel, like ISIL, engages in terror. It beheads people not with daggers but with drones. Like ISIL, JSIL is a borderless entity. No one knows where its borders are. Like ISIL, JSIL maintains centers of radicalization in the West in religious centers and attempts to recruit foreign fighters, including people like me, to participate in human rights abuses. Like ISIL, JSIL is a religiously exclusive entity that requires the ethnic cleansing of minorities. In Syria and Iraq, we see the Yazidis being ethnically cleansed. In JSIL, we see the Palestinians being perpetually ethnically cleansed to maintain the Jewish demographic majority and ethnic purity of the state.
I don't know what the hell is going on, but I like it. President Trump has cut contact with Netanyahu, slamming the Israeli Prime Minister and his allies for acting arrogant and trying to push him around. Trump reportedly feels disrespected and manipulated by Netanyahu. Trump to announce U.S. recognizes Palestinian state, Gulf diplomatic source claims. Just spoke with a general who was in the Mar-a-Lago crowd. He said that AIPAC is getting shut out of the Trump administration, confirmed that Walz was trying to undermine Trump by working with Netanyahu, and said that he is hopeful that the U.S. will decouple from Mossad and MI6. President Trump has dropped the requirement for Saudi Arabia to normalize relations with Israel as part of its nuclear agreement with the United States. State Department sources have informed AF Post that a coalition is forming to recognize Palestine. Following the revelation of the plan, AIPAC and Zionists have been incessantly calling to prevent Trump from recognizing Palestine. White House sources informed AF Post that President Trump has largely disregarded calls from Stegi Flicker, Mark Levin, Miriam Adelson, and Mike Huckabee. Trump administration sidelined Israel and held secret talks with Hamas, calling them positive. The negotiations have focused on securing American hostages and delivering humanitarian relief to Gaza. And this is the Israeli response to all of this. Israel says recognition of Palestinian state will force unilateral actions in response. Take this message back to Washington. If the U.S. recognizes Palestine, there will be hell to pay in the White House of those who turn their backs on America's most important ally, and that includes Trump. Also, Trump is Hamas.
Who would you say America's best ally is?
Israel.
What would you say if I told you 57 years ago, Israel made war on the United States? USS Liberty, spy ship, set to the Eastern Mediterranean in 1967, attacked by Israel with the intention of sinking the ship, killing every man aboard it, and blaming it on the Egyptians and getting us involved with the Middle East war.
It seems like Trump is seriously pissed. This would be the first time that a president has cut ties with Israel since JFK. Theory that I'm going with at this point is that Trump possibly read through the Epstein files because we know that he hated Epstein. It's been very obvious to me that he hates Netanyahu, but felt obligated to work with him and support Israel. But if he read through those documents and realized that Epstein was working for Mossad and that all of our politicians and elites have been blackmailed by Israel this entire time, if he was already feeling manipulated by Netanyahu, this probably sealed the deal.
Breaking news, Israel says they will soon end all U.S. aid. The Israelis have approved a plan to completely militarily occupy the Gaza Strip, using U.S. aid to fund it and to do so. But in a shocking turn of events, yesterday President Trump says the U.S. no longer approves of this plan. The White House instead sees Hamas as the future governing body of Gaza. Obviously, though, in a disarmed state. This, however, is a red line for Israel, and Israel will now be operating in Gaza without the U.S.'s permission. 2 days ago, Israel said now is the perfect time to strike Iran. So what does Trump do? He comes out and says, quote, "I want good things for Iran." Yesterday, with the release of the American from Gaza, we now see the U.S. has a direct communication line with Hamas, something that Israel did not know and is very upset about. Within a week, the U.S. and the Israelis are on complete opposite sides of the Middle East, notably without visiting Israel.
Israel has threatened the United States with, quote, unilateral action. Israel threatened unilateral action against the United States. In the past 3 days, Trump has crossed 3 red lines for Israel. On day 1, he cut all communication with Netanyahu. Day 2, he made a deal with Israel's mortal enemy, Saudi Arabia. And number 3, he will be recognizing Palestine. And today, he made it number 4. You see, this is Eden Alexander, an American hostage in Gaza. But Trump made a deal with to get him out of captivity. This is a deal that the White House didn't tell Israel about, and they didn't negotiate for any of the Israeli hostages, only the American. This is now the 4th day in a row that the president has gone against Israel, and all it took was 4 days for Israel to threaten the U.S. The American ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has just fired a crazy insult at Israel. Yes, I never thought I'd see this either. Huckabee said that the U.S. doesn't need Israel in our Middle East affairs, and that we're going to be alright on our own. We know what this is about. The U.S. is trying to normalize relations and get peace with Iran and Saudi Arabia, especially Iran. Iran simply came to us and said, just don't bomb us and we can make a deal. And then leaked documents show that Israel was preparing a plan to do that anyway without us. And then we were making a deal with the Saudis, and Israel intervened and said, hey, can you force Saudi Arabia to recognize us as a country? That's whenever President Trump said, oh, you're not in this deal. This is us and the Saudi. Netanyahu apparently had a phone call with the president about something, we don't know. But like an hour after the phone call, it comes out that Trump's cutting ties, Hegseth is canceling his visit, and then Israel fired back saying we will defend ourselves alone. And also we're pulling a lot of troops and carriers out of that area. We also made peace with Yemen, which apparently was out of nowhere, but we know now it's because we're done fighting Israel's wars.
You know, we give Israel $4 billion a year. That's a lot.
Israel has hypnotized the world and helped them to see the evil doings of Israel.